Hey everybody, what's up? I've missed you, it's been a day, and this is going to be another episode, episode 4, I believe, of my Masters League quest. And as you just saw in the preview screen there, I finally faced a Zerg opponent. It has been probably about 10 games since I faced a Zerg, and that really tells you the state of the meta game. It is not quite great right now. I think Zergs are having a tough time against Protoss opponents these days. And you know, I feel for you. I've seen that Void Ray Colossus build. It rips face. It's hard to deal with as a Zerg, I'll admit it. But anyways, this is going to be a slightly favored Zerg, which is great. I love facing people that are slightly favored because it means that I'm getting better, so they're pairing me up with better people, and it means I'm getting closer to my goal of entering the Masters League. So that's awesome. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. And I hope you enjoy this game. This is a particularly cool game, I thought. It was definitely interesting. I like facing a Zerg when it's a long game. And once again, my games are now going to be over 15 minutes long, but not these two-part things. None of that nonsense anymore. It's just one massive video, and that is exactly how it should be. I really like that. It is going to be sick. Macro games without making them two parts. I am so excited to start casting a lot more games now, and this is just going to be the beginning, guys, so really hope you enjoy it. Anyways, one thing I do want to mention before I get too far into this is you might have noticed I've been going for mech against Protoss lately. I really hope you've noticed that, actually, because if you haven't been watching my videos. But anyways, I decided, okay, I'm going to try this against Zerg. I'm going to go for mech against Zerg and see how that works out. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be going for a bunch of Hellions and Siege tanks. It's not going to quite, deal the damage it needs to against the Mutalisks, but obviously, I'm going to change my unit composition a bit to deal with that. And he's going to be going for a gas steal right there. It's pretty inconsequential, though. I don't really understand why he did this. I think what he was worried about was maybe Banshees, but I had no intention of going for Banshees here whatsoever. When I go Terran versus Zerg, I typically will open with Blue Flame Hellions. I like that transition into mech after. You already have this factory with the tech labs. You can easily get those siege tanks out immediately afterwards, and I'll just be dealing with that with the Marine. I'll just go for a fast expansion since I can't get more factories off of one gas. It's fine. Don't really mind. It's alright. And he's gonna go, all out with this. He really doesn't want me to have that gas. So, when you see someone who's that intense about you not getting that gas and is scared of Banshees, okay, this guy's clearly going for roaches. I mean, why else would you be scared about the Banshees? Your Mutalisks should be out relatively in time. Your Queens can't hold them off until they come out. And usually the lair timing is such that the Cloak won't finish in time for those Overseers. Or rather, you know what I'm saying, the Overseers can detect you before Cloak finishes, if you do go for the fast lair Mutalisk build, which seems to be pretty common. So I'm pretty certain he's going to go for roaches at this point. I don't know, I mean, it's definitely possible he doesn't, but when you take that gas like that, it really tells me something. Anyways, I'm not even going to bother taking that gas. I don't even care at this point. I have enough for Blue Flame easily. What I'm going to be doing instead is just getting that expansion down, as I said before. Also, make sure you look at your mini-maps. You can see things like that coming. It's good to catch those Zerglings and just see what's going on. And I'm also going to be setting my SCV back in, and there is a very, very specific reason for that. There have been people who have been doing really weird things to me lately, where they will throw down the expansion, and when my SCV leaves, they cancel it, throw down a Baneling Nest, and go all-in Baneling Bust. So I don't want to lose to that. Screw that. I'm going to scout and see if they kept that expansion up even after the SCV left. I'm not going to get cheesed anymore. I'm so sick of cheese. Oh my god, I lost to the worst cheese the other day. I couldn't even believe it. It was that Marine SCV one that I talked to you about. I swear, the guy he had 6 games played in Platinum. Oh, what a disgrace. I feel very ashamed. Not to offend any of you Platinum people, it's the fact that he had only played 6 games in his life that really made me just very sad. But anyways, yeah, just keep making those Hellions. I definitely slipped on my macro right now. As you can see, the Hellion, it's a little bit delayed, but it's all right. It's nothing too too bad. He's going for roaches anyways because, well, I think he is at least. And that's going to pretty much shut down the Hellions. What I'm trying to do with these Hellions essentially is force a ton of roaches so that I can then transition into siege tanks and destroy them all. It's really the goal here. And you'll notice that despite it being a fair bit into this game, I'm not going to be going for that engineering bay yet. I don't see a point. Oh, sorry, never mind, it's only 7 minutes. It's a little blurry here when I do these first-person videos for you. It looks much better when I render them. But anyways, yeah, so I'll talk about that a bit later. The expansion's now up. I'm not going to float that out yet. You really need siege tanks and marines and a decent amount of Hellions before you do that. And I'll just be moving out here once my blue flame finishes with those Hellions. And I typically prefer to take the Tasteless Secret Hallway, which for those of you who don't know, it's the bottom... Oh, sorry, no. The John's Common Knowledge Hallway, that's what it's called. It's essentially the bottom little path that leads to the back of their natural. As you can see, my Hellions going there right now. And this, for all of you Zerg players out there, you're going to see something very nice that my opponent did here. In just a second. Look at my Hellions on the mini-map. Boom! Roach is just sitting there waiting. He knew that they were coming, and he completely destroyed one immediately. And I got a decent amount of drones here, but certainly not as much as I hoped to. I sometimes kill Zergs with this initial Hellion thing. And I just get like 10 drones or something, and they just rage quit. It's quite satisfying when it happens. But don't do that, guys. Do what he did. Leave the roaches right there if you know Hellions are coming. And he knew that Hellions were coming. What else would I be using that gas for? If I couldn't go for Banshees that fast, right? So, just a little tip for you Zerg players. Hope you guys will enjoy my cast just as much as anyone else. I'm going to try and make my cast a little more friendly for Zerg and Protoss. I know that I'm a Terran player, so my FPVODs, there's not much I can do there. But I'll try and talk about what the Zerg and Protoss opponents are doing as well, just so you guys don't feel so left out. So, as you can see, more siege tanks coming out. And I think I have siege mode researching right now. Which is going to be very helpful. As you can see, once again, the plague of mech is a massive amount of minerals. Having this many minerals this early is certainly nothing you ever want to have happen. I'm also going to be getting that engineering bay now. This is a late engineering bay. I saw roaches, so I know his mutas will be late, but I know they'll come eventually. I've never seen a Zerg versus a Terran where they don't go for mutas. So I'll be getting that. And of course, even if he doesn't go for mutas, who cares? Look at all the minerals I have. I can easily afford a few turrets at this point. So yeah, siege mode is now done, and I should be unloading that bunker and floating that command center over. If I had to do this differently, once I checked the replay out, what I would have done, instead of floating this out right now, is I would have floated it out about 3 minutes prior and gotten siege mode earlier. It would have been better. I fell behind macroeconomically at this point, simply because this CC was so late floating out despite going up early, so don't do that. For your Terran players. And for a Zerg, you want to deny this expansion from going up. You can put a ling under there, just make it take as many seconds as possible. It's really the goal here. I'm going to be putting up a few turrets as well, just so that I can avert those mutas. Also getting more gas immediately, very important there. And I always put that engineering bay in the Tasteless Secret Hallway just because I like to have oh, excuse me guys. I like to have some vision of what's going on there, just so I can see. Okay, is he coming at me with a Baneling attack? Are there roaches back there? Is he mutilus harassing? Just lets me have a little bit more peace of mind when I move out. Refineries are now up. Saturate those immediately. And yeah, you should be pretty much set. I'm going to get the armory as well for those upgrades. And keep producing the supply depots. I believe I was a little bit sloppy with my supply depots in this game, and that's never something you want to do. Supply depot is so important. If you don't have that up, oh man, you lose so much. And here comes the Overseer into my base. I'm like, oh crap, he's contaminating. So I went back here to try and cut his Overseer off. And him being the smart player, he moves it the other way. So at this point, I'm like, man, this guy really is slightly favored. He's one step ahead of me every part of this game. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I mean, this is a mech build, so you're really going to want to mass up a nice critical mass of tanks before you move out. And that's pretty much what you will always want to do. You're very weak until you have that critical mass. I'm going to be putting turrets up at the expansion as well. The Hellions I'm going to try and do some harassment with once again. Hockey those to 4 all the time. Hockey my tanks to 2 all the time. Marines, another anti-air, always go on 1. And I see, okay, he's got a Zergling there. Is he taking this yet? Yeah, he's just about taking that. Just lets me sort of know the timings of these things when they're coming up. Gonna harass that a bit. And I see, okay, the mutas are out now. Time to switch into Thor production. So I think I canceled the tanks now. Yeah, I canceled the tanks and replaced them with 2 Thors. Gonna help me out. I have a decent amount of Marines and missile turrets, so I should be pretty safe. I put a few down by the tanks though, just so they're not so defenseless. And I can see, okay, so it begins. Here comes the Mutalisk harassment. And so I'm gonna add a few more factories. Apparently I only added 1 there. That's a little bit of a mistake by me. Not impressed. And yeah, you're just going to want to prevent that engineering bay from going down, obviously. It's no fun losing an eng bay, because it's really the only thing protecting you from getting owned back there. And he loses a Mutalisk unnecessarily. Don't lose a Mutalisk for the sake of harassing an engineering bay. That's never a fair trade. Just a little pro tip for all you Zerg players out there. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's an insult. That kind of tip. So I'm going to go in once again with my Hellions to try and deal some damage. The Thors are now out and are being blocked by a siege tank. And I run into a massive amount of roaches and I'm like, holy crap. He is going heavy roach. Heavy muta, and that's tough to deal with actually. You need to have the perfect balance of Thor and tank in order to deal with that. And you want to stop Hellions altogether. I keep producing them anyways because I have the reactor on the factory, might as well. They can at least buffer some damage from those roaches, but yeah, there's one problem here that you want to avoid, and that's when the Thors get too high in number that he will just snipe them with roaches. It's something you always want to be careful of.
Additional supply depots required.
So as you can see, supply block, forced to call down a few extra supplies. Going to be trying to go in with my Hellions once again, just to see if he's got that expansion. I know he's got the Xel'Naga Watchtower though, so his roaches immediately meet me and I'm forced to pull back. These Hellions are pretty much disposable at this point though. They're completely useless against everything he's doing, so it's alright. You know, I'm feeling pretty decent. Oh, okay. I'm sorry guys, for some reason my screen has gone black here. Black screen. Now I'm experiencing what you guys experience all the time, which is the black screen of death. And we're back online now. That's always a good thing to have. So yeah. Now I've got a nice big army. A couple Thors. 4 Thors I think. And a nice amount of tanks. Also, lower your supply depot so these kind of things don't happen. There you go. Now you can exit there, Mr. Thor. I'm going to be bringing back the Marines. And my basic plan here is to take the gold expansion and then push from there. As you can see, the command center is now done. And yeah, I'm going to be lifting that up and floating it over. We're going to make a planetary fortress. You definitely need it in this matchup. Also going to scout around with the Hellion. And I see, oh, 1 Mutalisk. Where are the roaches, however? I don't see any roaches. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. That means I'm okay to move out here and start banging away at those gold rocks. So that's what I do. Also, I suggest you seize your tanks up in this position, just in case he tries to attack you right now. Look at how fast those go down, eh? And at this point, I see... Oh, shoot! His roaches are burrowing. Oh, that's ugly. Yeah, note to self, get a Raven next time. Jeez, that was very bad of me. Wow, that was a great strategy by him, though. And now he's target firing the Thor. And this is why you needed those tanks. He just took out so much. This guy's a great Zerg player, by the way. Really showing you why he's favored right now. I do clean this up, however, but trust me, I lost a lot more than he did. I lost a bunch of Thor and tank, and what did he lose? A bunch of tier 1.25 units, the roaches, so it's not something you want to have happen, guys. Definitely not. So at this point, I just, I start making my units again. It just takes a ridiculous amount of time to max out a mech army, so it's gonna be a while before I can do that. And so this is the point where I feel like, man, I've lost this game. And the reason I feel that way is because what a Zerg can do against mech in the late game is go for Broodlords. And do I have any Vikings out? No, I don't. So I desperately make that starport. But that's actually a starport to make a Raven, just because I know he has Burrow now. Definitely a late Raven. I'll make another starport, I think, for those Vikings, however. Meanwhile, I'm going to be trying to do something with the Blue Flame Hellions. Once again, I see his army there. Oh, sorry, not his army, his Overlords. And I'm just going to check the timing of this base. And I see... Alright, yeah, it looks like this base just went up. So I'm okay, I'm not too far behind economically. And I'm going to yeah, I try to go up the rocks, but he hasn't taken those out yet. And I meet his roach army, but the Hellions are quite fast, so they can escape pretty easily. Get those gas up immediately. As you can see, the minerals, always the problem here. And I'm trying to take a 4th base, but there's just no way for me to get over there. I can move the Thor over there, but then my army is completely defenseless. That's never something you really want to have happen.
Are under attack.
Alright, keep sieging up the tanks. Got my starport now with the tech lab. Going to be transferring these SCVs over. And yeah, I'm going to try and go for that base, but he really has outplayed me thus far, and if I can't get that base up, I'm in deep trouble. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm going to scan to take out a couple creep tumors, just so he can't get vision if I do choose to push up that lane. I see his roaches, so I'm like, oh, so he's still got roaches. Okay, that's not good. And I start loading up. This is when you know things are breaking down. But I keep producing the tanks and the Thor. I try and go a little bit more Thor heavy in the late game because it's simply because if he does make that switch to Broodlords, I am screwed if I have a bunch of tanks and Hellions. That goes without saying. And I'm going to make another starport here in a few seconds, I think. Oh, maybe not.
Mineral field depleted.
I do suggest you have that starport out, however, in time for his Broodlords. 2 starports with reactors should let you get the Vikings out immediately. I scanned just to make sure he's like still not doing something crazy, like he's still in lair. And I also scan right there to make sure that he's not doing any funny business. Of course, I did have a turret right there, and I think I just killed my own unit. Yeah, oh man, my position's inaccurate. What am I doing? I don't even understand what I'm doing at this point. I'm just like sniping. Oh, sorry, yes. The reason I did that was because I was maxed and I needed the Raven. So I did that so to free up supply. Okay. Alright, I can respect myself again once more. Oh my god, that was not good. Let's continue to massive factories, but yeah, what I should have been doing is getting the starport. There goes the starport. And I see the Broodlords now, so what you want to do versus the Broods is unsiege the tanks and bring them back to the planetary. He has an immense amount of Broodlords, however, and I don't think any amount of Thor is going to deal with this. Look at that. The Broodlings just do sick damage versus those Thor. And I try and snipe a Broodlord. Do I even get this Broodlord? Yeah, okay, I get one of them. Then the roaches come in, and I'm forced to pull SCVs to start mass repairing. As you can see, the siege tanks will take care of the roaches quite handily. But, you know, there's nothing I have here to deal with the Broodlords, so I'm pretty much screwed at this point. And I go ahead and I call GG. I'm like, oh, I'm backing out of this. Now, yeah, so here's a game I lost for once. I do try and get the Vikings, but yeah, I know it's GG at this point. And I'm just going to talk about something that maybe I should have done here instead. Okay, so instead of GGing right there, I think what I could have done was pull back all the way back to my expansion and try and mass Viking and tank. I didn't do it, however. I still think I would have lost, but either way, look at that, 1,500 plus games. This guy was sick. Okay, 3,000. Yeah, there's no question that he was a better player than me. And so I'm just going to check my rank out here. I'm moving up though. I'm like almost at 2,100. That's great stuff. And yeah, here's to another episode of my Masters League quest. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again for another daily dose of ownage. Peace out, guys.